have team coverage on this story, starting with attorney Dave Aronberg. Dave was the state attorney of Palm Beach County, Florida. He was also the state's drug czar as an assistant attorney general. Good morning to you, Dave. What was your biggest takeaway from the proceedings yesterday?
Well, it's good to be with you. Great show. And by the way, I was on in the past with Allison Camerata, who is a genuinely nice person. So it's great to be with you.
Dave, thank you very much. And I was so excited when I saw that you were our guest. I really have always enjoyed interviewing you.
Thank you, Allison. Thanks so much. Congratulations on this show. When I saw the hearing yesterday, it was that he was in that smock. I mean, that really has got to be a shock to this guy's system. This guy had lived his own life where he was a loner. He was playing video games all day. He dropped out of school. He was someone who just decided because he didn't like someone, he would go take that person away from his kids and his wife and the world. And here you can just start to see by the look in his face that consequences were forthcoming. And here's someone who really never had to deal with consequences before, who's just living a life of selfishness. The other thing is that I'm not concerned about the lawyer. He will get a lawyer when it matters, and that is at arraignment when he has to plead not guilty of the charges. But yes, the evidence is overwhelming. The confessions that he did through the text messages, I mean, that's brutal. That's like a prosecutor's dream. So they got this guy dead to rights.
But the fact that all of that text information was released to the public at this early juncture, were you surprised at all by that? How much detail the DA there released in the probable cause statement, the back and forth between the roommate?
Well, anything that's in the probable cause statement is fair game. It is open to the public, and it is ethical for prosecutors to discuss what's in the four corners of the probable cause affidavit. What is questionable is when the FBI director comes out and discusses the evidence, like that his DNA is found on the rifle. That you got to be careful with, because if evidence eventually is suppressed at trial, then that defendant could claim a Sixth Amendment violation of his right to a fair trial, saying, you put this out in the press, in the public, and now how can I get a fair trial when that evidence isn't even allowed in court? So that's why the FBI director, who's new at this job, needs to be very careful before talking about a pending case.
Yeah, the FBI director has been accused of being reckless throughout this case and getting away over his skis, as they say. But Dave, put on your defense attorney hat for us. I mean, you make it sound as if it's an open and shut case, and it does appear that way, but he's going to get an attorney. Tyler Robinson's going to have an attorney. What's the case that attorney is going to make in court for him?
Well, you know, I became a defense attorney in January. I was a prosecutor my career before that, so I still think like a prosecutor. And the one question I think I have so far is with the death penalty here, because Allison, you hit it on the head earlier that under Utah law, it's not clear if he is eligible for the death penalty. I think they're going to go on the aggravating factor of that the individual knowingly caused a great risk of death to another individual other than the deceased individual and himself. So that's why I think they're going to lay their hat on that factor. But it's not as strong as if the feds came in, and then the feds could come in and say, here's the aggravating factor, terrorism, that's one, or the premeditation and planning that he did, all the planning, that's an aggravated factor under federal law, plus putting other people at risk. So it's a better chance of getting the death penalty, in my mind, at the federal level, which makes me think maybe the feds are going to step in and take this case away from the state, at least to begin with.
I'm just assuming that because of the note left for the roommate and combine that with the text messages, you can rule out, Dave, any sort of insanity plea.
Oh, well, yeah, great point. When you try to hide your involvement, when you try to cover your tracks, like, for example, he fled, he was trying to get away with it because he knew what he did was wrong. He knew what he did was a crime. That means you can't get the insanity defense, because to get the insanity defense, you have to have an established medical condition. We don't even know if he has one. And number two, you can't know the difference between right and wrong. And when you cover your tracks, when you try to hide your involvement in a crime, why do you do that? Because you knew what you did was a crime. So that in itself, but you're right as to the premeditation, the note, he knew what he was doing. He did it for political reasons, according to his own words. And because of that, I think his goose is cooked.
Real quickly, could there be a plea deal of any sort? Could he plead guilty in exchange for not facing the death penalty, guilty to life in prison, anything like that possibly on the table?
There's always a possibility of a deal. This one is going to be tougher for prosecutors because there's immense pressure, not just
Right.
from the community, but from the president to seek the death penalty. And so I do think it's always a possibility, but not a probability in this case.
All right. We
Dave,
appreciate
great to see you. Thanks so much for all the expertise. We'll see you soon.